is so important. You know, you have to teach them education, but also provide them experiences. But how you go provide them experiences? You need to expose them to different things.
I
And
like that.
and I'm like, man, that's something where I want to make sure I do that with my students. I want to do that with my daughter, definitely my family. And it's important because you allow them to open their eyes and not just be so like inward
Hmm.
focus, get that outward experience.
What is going on? Welcome to the ETG session here on the School Site Corner. I have with me today Mr. Demond Criss. Demond is the program director at A.J. Wittenberg, which is an elementary school in Greenville, South Carolina. And this is a school of engineering.
Absolutely.
All right,
Yes.
so welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so first off, I kind of want to take a second to explain what an ETG session actually is for my audience, but anybody else that may be listening or that may be new. So ETG is the name of my company, and it stands for Embrace the Grind. And so when I have people on, such as my man Demond here, he's going to be talking about things that he set out for, such as a goal. And in order to reach that goal, he's had to overcome certain obstacles. And we're going to talk about what those obstacles may be, but also how he's gotten to the success that he's actually reached to this date. If you could just give me a little background on kind of what you're working on or what's the biggest thing that you're planning to move into this coming year.
All right. Well, I'm actually been in the classroom for the last 17 years, and I'm actually making a transition, staying in education. I am moving into the program director position where I'm able to collaborate with more teachers in the whole school instead of just like on the grade level. And it's more responsibilities as well. I'm building relationships with different business partners and also focusing on instructional leadership within the school.
Okay. And you said you were a teacher 17 years until you decided to make this transition.
Yes, absolutely. Yep,
Okay.
17 years.
So what was the big shift as far as the jump? Was it just because you get to plan the programs and such, or do you have something more internal?
Yeah, you know, I always enjoyed teaching. You know, that's a passion. I just love seeing where students, you know, they learn some material that they did not know to begin with
Mm-hmm.
and actually like grasp it and actually make it their own. So I never wanted to leave the classroom when I started. I thought this was going to be me for the rest of my, you know, career teaching. There was a then I had opportunities. People, especially like my colleagues and different people, they're like, you know, you should go in administration. You can impact other people. But you know, I was a little hesitant at first. But as time went on, these opportunities became available, and it's like me going on the, you know, diving board, jumping into like the deep end for the first time,
For
and
sure.
taking this risk. And this is where I'm at this year. My going into my 18th year into education, actually in this program director position.
Awesome. And I actually just ran across something that said you won Teacher of the Year here recently, or last year, or year before last.
Yes, about two
Okay.
years ago.
Did that give you a little extra motivation to kind of take this leap?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just having my peers vote for me, thinking, you know, they wanted me to represent them at the district level. And it felt good, you know, and understanding, you know, I'm more than just like teacher in the classroom, but actually like a teacher leader and help inspire other teachers. That really did motivate me to go into this and apply to this new position as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now, you haven't started it yet, but I'm sure you have good information about what it's going to entail. But what obstacles do you foresee or have you already encountered just in this transitional period?
Um, you know, I'm a lifelong learner, so I always wanted to continue to learn. So previously, like the past 4 years, I started a program just to go into education leadership. I didn't know quite what I wanted to do at that point. You know, most people go into becoming a principal or they may work for the district office. But I just decided, you know, let me get these tools to help me actually in the classroom and also in my school to take on more leadership roles. So I did graduate from the position, well, graduated from the program at Furman University.
Okay.
And last year I applied to a different position. However, I did not get that position.
Okay.
So it was more of an administrative type of role where I had to deal with more discipline, and it didn't work out. I had the opportunity to apply to different schools, but I decided, you know what, I enjoy the school where I'm working at. My daughter goes to the school. She's been at the school since the beginning. She's going into the 4th grade now.
Hmm.
And I had a lot of obstacles, I had to collaborate with the person who actually had that position. I had to continue to work with the administration who actually chose someone else.
Hmm.
And one key thing was about this fit. Like they told me like it has to be a perfect fit. In hindsight, looking back at it, I'm like, you know what? The person who's actually in that position is the better person for that. They have more
For sure.
experience in dealing with things. But at the moment, though, it was hard because I'm like, I thought, I was the teacher of the year. I thought, I can go in this position being a leader, and it didn't work out the way I planned.
Hmm.
Talk about the grind aspect. I still like wanted to make sure I wanted to be part of this community, but also something else came available, this program director position.
There we
I
go.
decided to apply. I wasn't discouraged. I was like, I'm gonna give my best foot forward, and lo and behold,
Things
this is
work
a
out,
better
man.
position. It did. It did.
Yeah, I talk about that a lot, especially when I talk about like my grad school career. And
Yes.
I had professors that were always like, things will work out.
Mhm.
Back then, it just didn't mean that much to me. But as I've gotten older and I see that when you put forth the effort, when you actually are persistent in your goals, it's like the doors will open up. And even if it's not exactly what you're going for, things work out to where you're in a position right now I think you're well qualified for. You're going to transition and kind of do great things with it. So things work out and you're attest
Yes,
to that.
absolutely. I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely. It was hard though. It's you think about like, you know, you think you have things like the qualities and the qualifications, but it just didn't work out the way I planned it.
Mhm.
And it's easy to fall in that trap to be, negative, like, or things don't go well. But you have to make a decision. I can go down that road and talk about how things not going well, or I can continue to be a team player or
Mhm.
collaborate with other people. And I think that allowed me to actually go into this position and apply for this position where I'm at now. Because I think my attitude, just having a positive attitude when things don't go the way that I thought it should go,
Mhm.
but working together and collaborating with others to see the good in everybody and
Gotcha.
meet that goal.
Now, going from a classroom where you're going to be in there with the kids to more of a director position, coordinating, and like you said, talking out with different businesses and different programs and such, what are
Mhm.
you most looking forward to about that transition?
I think just being able to uh, learn from other teachers. Uh,
Mm.
I'm, I really enjoy on my particular grade level working with 2 or 3 other teachers, but now I'll be working with 30 teachers, 35 teachers, and I think that's just going to allow my skill set to grow as well, to learn, and also I'll be able to impact other teachers as well,
For
which
sure.
ultimately will help with students. I think sometimes you're right in your own 4 walls of your classroom, but now be able to expand that and help other people as well. So that's
Exactly.
something I'm looking forward to, and really just challenging other people think differently, and actually helping the whole school student body as well.
Okay. And I don't want to make it seem like just because you were in the classroom that you didn't touch a lot of people, because
Oh
you
yeah,
think about the ripple effect. These children grow up and they remember these teachers that had such an impact, but you're just
mm-hmm.
doing it from a different perspective now to where you're helping the people who help the kids directly. Main goal is to provide and help for these kids. Now,
Mm-hmm.
we know that in the schools, there's been lots of shift with COVID, the pandemic and everything.
Mm-hmm.
In this new role, how do you feel, or what kind of things do you plan to kind of implement to help build that back up? Because, I feel like just overall, everyone's taking a hit. And how do we keep kids motivated? How do we keep parents and schools like collaborating with each other?
Yeah, that's a
That's
tough question. It's
a
a
big
lot, but
challenge.
it is. Just what we've been going through this past 2 to 3 years with the pandemic, a lot of people, it hit people really hard, especially with different families and just being at a school that I'm working at now. We have people who are different backgrounds, different cultures, and the pandemic affected them differently.
Mhm.
Um, But I think definitely one thing we, as a school, what we need to do is make sure we have an open door. You know, things that we did before the pandemic, we may not necessarily be able to do. We have more of a different student population as well. We have people who had to move different reasons, or people who lost their jobs, or unfortunately, people lost loved ones as well during this time. So I think as a school community, what we need to do is definitely need to cater to those students who live directly in our neighborhood, because our school is definitely is different, because we have about half our population people who live in the inner city, but also another half who all over Greenville County.
Okay.
So how can we cater towards those students who are in our immediate community, but also cater to those people who may have different backgrounds or different, you know, economic aspects and all across the county?
Yeah.
It's a challenge. I think we definitely need to be able to base ourselves in the West Greenville area, be able to, like, if we have a PTA meeting, instead of thinking like, oh, we need to have a school, how about we go into that actual community, the community center, and to be able to get more parents and families involved in that community? Because unfortunately, we know when we have events here, we have students or families who are maybe not from the neighborhood. So we need to be able to meet people where they are.
For sure.
We need to be able to find opportunities to do that. I think that will be able to communicate to people, you know, although things happen these past 2 or 3 years, like disconnect, we're here for the community and we
For
want
sure.
to work with you.
Do you think that people in the direct community, do you think they're intimidated to go into the schools for certain things, or are they just more comfortable in like maybe a community center or a church or whatever that may be?
hmm You know, we have a variety of different families. You know, some people, just depending on their actual experience in schools,
Sure.
I have noticed that some people, some families, they don't feel comfortable in coming to school. You know, they may have had experience, or even different government, like you say, government aspects, different offices, or even like doctors, or they may not be feel comfortable. So I think it's important for us to, you know, think differently. Like, how can we reach these families? How can we show that we really care about them and be open to doing things differently as well? It's hard sometimes. Sometimes even in an organization or in the system, we do things our way. We have to do things X, Y, and Z. But we may need to be able to just be open and figure out how can we do things differently, and be open to that and trying things out, doing
Yeah, in
things
a
different.
sense, kind of saying forget the red tape, even if
Mm-hmm.
it's just to explore ideas and open up the conversation. But then, like you said, at the end of the day, there's a reality to where certain things you have restrictions, you have certain things you have to abide by. So I get it in that sense. But you guys are you planning to take the initiative to meet the parents where they're at, meet the community members where they're at, which is a great approach.
Absolutely. Yes. And
Yeah.
I think, yeah, absolutely. Just really just being open and also understand what's actually happening in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know one particular family, they do events like once a month, like really get the people in the neighborhood together, and being able to, you know, being an administrator, just going to those events and talking to people and getting ideas and figuring out ways to address needs that the community is actually facing right now.
That you hear at
And
that
how,
ground level. Yeah. Okay.
exactly.
So switch gears a little bit. You mentioned your daughter, she's a fourth grader at the AJ Wittenberg, the school you're at. Have you been with her throughout her whole elementary?
I have, and
How has that been, like being in the same school as your daughter and kind of being a teacher, maybe not her teacher, but just being there as a presence?
yes, you know, it's a great feeling. You know, they know me as a teacher, you know, I'm kind of, you know, lay down the, you know, the expectations. But then when I see my daughter walk in the hallway, I just gotta give a hug, and I'm like, oh, my students look at me like, what? What is this? But I think that's important too. They need to see both of that side, you know, somebody who definitely have high expectations, but also, you know, I'm caring as well.
For
So
sure.
while I have my daughter at the school, allow my students to see that as well, show that, you know, I am your teacher, but also I'm a father as well, and having these different hats and feelings and emotions, showing how important it is. And that's one of the biggest benefits of having my daughter at the school. And I think it's important for the community as well, school community, to see.
For sure. hey, I lay down the law, but at the end of the day, I'm going to love you too. So having both sides, I think that's a very important characteristic as a teacher, but then you're taking that same compassion into the community and bring that to the school as a program director, which is great.
Absolutely. I'm gonna even take to the next level, being an African-American male too. I was the only African-American male in my school for quite a lot. I think just in education as well, the numbers are low. So to be able to show the students something different, like, I am African-American male, I'm here for you, and I am a father. I'm somebody here who's dedicated, and I want to see the best for you. It speaks volumes to the community and to students as well, showing something different that they may see in the media or something in their community, in their neighborhood. But I think it's very, it's important. It's a higher calling to just me, being a teacher here. I think I'm able to represent just a different perspective
for sure
on what they may see in society.
Yeah. I guess with it being around Juneteenth, I was at a festival here a couple days ago, and I ran into another man that runs a program in the community. I forget the name of it, but we just kind of talked about how a lot of kids may not necessarily see African-American men, doing great things. So just looking at you, when I contacted you and reached out to you, I'm thinking like, man, this guy, he looks like me. We have African-American culture to where we're doing great things. So we need to highlight this. We need to shine and share this. So that's where this platform is for you. And that's what, kind of being in the schools has led you. Myself, I'm a school psychologist.
Yeah.
Very rarely have I seen other people that look like me in the field, doing things that I do. So in my sense, I'm also, a face for those kids that are coming up and they see what a school psychologist is. So it's like, great, keep that going, learn about it. There are lots of things that you can do out there. It doesn't have to be a school site, but you can make something of yourself. And that's
Absolutely.
the deeper message, man.
Absolutely. And it is deep. It's definitely deep because, you may not see the media. Well, you have the immediate effect too, but then the long term as well. I think we're in this for the long run on why, want to be a teacher, be an educator, be a psychologist in this field that's may not be so, heavily represented by actually students who actually are in the neighborhood.
For sure.
Look like them. So it's a marathon.
Yeah. So hearing where we're at right now, just with life, did you have any strong influences in your life growing up that kind of, maybe set the stage for where you're at now?
Yes, I think definitely. We just had Father's Day yesterday. My father, I think, he's been a big influence to me. Even though it didn't work out for my parents, they were divorced. I still yearn to have that relationship with my father, and he's been there, just really just giving me words of encouragement. I was just talking to him yesterday. He was telling me about how it's very important to, don't let anybody rain on your parade, all these different sayings. And as a child, I'm like, oh, here comes this saying again. But as an adult, I'm actually seeing this, like I find myself in the classroom saying these sayings to my students. And it's just something that's it ingrained like positive feelings, because even when things are going, like things not working out well, like I said earlier with my job situation, I thought I was gonna get this position, didn't, it's like something's better for you in store. Just those different words just help me out. Even my mom as well encouraged me to be the best I can be. So those influences were very helpful. I think too, just like as an African-American, my first African-American teacher, I think was in 7th grade. He was not only he was a football player from UCLA, but also he was a teacher who taught social studies that did play a sport, but actually thought education was very important. And I think now he's actually what is he? He's like on a top level. He's like a superintendent in the district now. So that just spoke like lots of volumes to me as well. Like not only like playing the sport, that was the vehicle to get to college, pay for college, but it was something more meaningful, like going into education to help the next generation. That spoke lots of volumes to me.
You're not from South Carolina, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm from Los Angeles. So I grew up In LA, yes.
Now, when you said that, it brought mind to a teacher that I knew in middle school who played football, NFL, and he came back and was a social studies teacher. So I was like, is this the same person? But he's passed on, I believe. And so,
Okay.
yeah, but he was one of the very few guys that I saw that looked like me, African American, but out there in that leadership role as a teacher and, shaping a lot of young men.
It's so powerful too, speaking about him right now, he may not even be thinking about like how he impact me or, but like I was saying earlier, it's like, the long term, being in a position to be able to influence the next generation is very important.
Okay. So we talked about your daughter a little bit. And before the interview, or I guess a couple of days ago, we talked about you just got back from vacation with your wife.
Yeah.
Was it the whole family that went?
Yes. My wife, she's a professor as well. She's in education. She had the opportunity to take some students to study in Portugal about just looking at the different health systems, comparing the health systems in Portugal and the US, and I think Great Britain as well. So they had that experience. So my daughter and I, we tagged along like the last week to be able to join her. And then we went on like a European tour to Spain as well and France.
Okay.
And the funny thing is my daughter, we ended up missing the last week of school. She was like, you know what? I don't want to miss school, the movies. I was telling her like, you can watch like 4 movies while we going and traveling across that pond. But it was just her perspective. But being able to expose her to the different culture, we went to 3 different countries, 3 different languages, to be able to see these different types of buildings and culture, that was priceless. And that's something my wife and I, we really value, exposing our daughter to different things.
For sure.
To be able to appreciate what she have and also to understand that people live differently. And that's what we did with this 10-day trip.
There we go. And I talk a lot about experiences, man. And the kids, they learn well from experiences, going through something and seeing the emotions that come from it. So I'm all about that too, giving the experiences to them. I had quite a few growing up. They were somewhat limited to South Carolina and Georgia, but they were still something to where I had that little taste. So as I got older and as I have my kids now, it's like, hey, I got to take them out different places. I have to expose them because it's not all about in this area that we live in. There's a big world out there, things that you can explore and kind of introduce yourself to. And you're never going to know what you're good at unless you know what's out there available to you.
That is so true. Wow. I think even when I started like teaching, I thought about these 3 E's. It was education, experience, and exposure, how important it was. And I started off teaching in Atlanta public schools. And literally, I went to Morehouse College, and I had the opportunity to actually teach like down the street in the Oakland community where I taught 2nd grade. And we were about 10 minutes away from the Georgia Dome. And I was just having conversations with my students about, hey, have y'all ever been to the Georgia Dome? This is like 8, 10-year-olds. They never been to the Georgia Dome, and it's right in their backyard. And I learned there, like, that exposure that students need is so important. You have to teach them education, but also provide them experiences. But how you go provide them experiences? You need to expose them to different things.
I like that.
And I'm like, man, that's something where I want to make sure I do that with my students. I want to do that with my daughter, definitely my family. And it's important because you allow them to open their eyes and not just be so like inward focused, get that outward experience.
For sure. Okay, man. Do want to be respectful of your time. And I know you're kind of in the middle of some things. Is there anything that you would like to share with the audience, people that are listening, that will be listening, how they can follow you professionally or some places that you are on social media or anything?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I would just say, definitely, I'm always learning. I always learn from a heart, and I always think being a lifelong learner is very important. I am here at AJ Wittenberg, project manager, project director, program director, exactly. And I just want to, if you want to contact me, yes, you can go to AJ Wittenberg. You'll find my information.
Okay.
Please email me. I love to collaborate, bring exposure to students. We are an engineering focused school. So we are always looking for opportunities to expose students to critically think, and also like any ideas. I'm always open to that. So
Great.
appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, I'll make sure I get these links online so that way people can just click it and follow and kind of follow up if they have some information to collaborate with you on.
Awesome.
Sound good?
I appreciate that. And I do want to say one more thing. I am part of like the West Greenville community too. At my church is a reconciled community church. We do a lot of great things in the community. We do something called Elias. Elias is dealing with students who may have trouble with the law, like enforcement.
Okay.
And we bring these students in to help them out. You know, we give them a word, also play sports, just really meet people where they are in the community. And we work with child foster care as well. So we do a lot of great things, and that's called Reconcile Community Church.
Reconcile
and
Community.
I'm an elder there under Pastor Will Brothers. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Perfect. Well, thank you again for coming on to the show, man. Lots of value here. People are going to take this and be inspired, because that's a real big reason of why we have this show, is to inspire people. And how do we inspire? When we talk about the things that we do and overcoming the obstacles that are there, because, you know, we all go through stuff, man. So hearing how you go through it, how you overcome, that's inspiring. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that, and all the best.
All right, for sure. Till next time, man. Take care.
All right. Take care.